Have you ever wondered who you would be if I took away your name, your gender, your job, and your role in society? What if you didn't have any labels, any expectations tied to you from the moment you were born? Who would you truly be then? It sounds like a strange and perhaps even unsettling question, doesn't it? But let me ask you this. Have you ever really thought about it? We are born into a world that immediately begins to define us. The moment we take our first breath, we are given a name, a label, and from there, everything else follows. We are taught who we are supposed to be: the perfect student, the successful professional, the loving parent. All these roles are placed upon us by society, our families, and sometimes even by our own desires. But what if all of these labels, these definitions of who we are just masks? What if they aren't the real you at all? Imagine, for a moment, waking up tomorrow in a room you've never seen before. You have no memories of who you are, no recollection of your name, your job, your relationships, or your past. Nothing. What's left of you in that moment? Would you still be you, or would you be someone completely different, a blank slate waiting to be defined? This idea is not as far-fetched as it might seem. In the quietest moments of meditation or reflection, we begin to uncover a truth. We are not our names. We are not our roles. The true essence of who we are lies beneath the surface of these labels. The truth of our existence is something far deeper, a consciousness that is beyond all the noise and expectations that society places on us. When we think of the name we carry, the identity we build around it, it's easy to forget that these are external constructs. Your name doesn't define your soul, your essence. It is merely a label, a tag, placed on you by others, your parents, your society, your culture. But is this really who you are? Think about it. When you say, "I am insert name," do you really know who that is? Or are you just repeating a story that's been told to you for years? Philosophers, particularly in Eastern traditions like Buddhism and Taoism, have long asked, who are you really? The question is not about finding a concrete answer, but rather about shedding all the masks we wear, the labels, the roles, the expectations, to discover the truth that lies within us, untouched by external definitions. In Taoism, they speak of returning to the unnameable, a state where you are simply being without the need for labels, roles, or even thoughts. But how do we get there? How do we begin to peel away these layers that have become so ingrained in our identities? It starts with recognizing that the name, the roles, the expectations are not the true you. They are like a costume you wear for the world. What happens when you take that costume off? What happens when you stop identifying as the successful professional, or the perfect student, or the loving parent? The journey of self-discovery requires us to be brave enough to look beyond the labels and ask the most fundamental question. Who am I without all of this? It's not an easy question, and it's not one that can be answered with a simple, intellectual response. It requires going beyond the thinking mind, beyond the roles and the labels, and into the deep, quiet space of simply being. In those moments of quiet introspection, we begin to recognize something powerful. We are more than the sum of our labels. When we stop trying to define ourselves by external standards and expectations, we start to experience a sense of freedom. Freedom from the weight of the world's definitions of who we should be. And that, in itself, is the first step toward reclaiming the true essence of who we are. So let's continue this journey together, where we explore what happens when we stop trying to be someone and instead start discovering what we are in our purest, most unadulterated form. In the next part of our journey, we'll uncover how to step beyond the labels and begin to embrace the freedom of being. Stay with me as we dive deeper into the truth that is waiting for us beneath the noise, beyond the names. Now that we've started questioning the labels we wear, let's take a deeper dive into what lies beneath them. What happens when we remove the name, the role, the story. What remains? In a world that thrives on labels, the name you were given is perhaps the first and most powerful label of all. It's the one that everyone uses to call you, to identify you, and to categorize you. It's the first thing you learn about yourself, the first identity that is shaped for you. But as we begin to peel back the layers, we find that this name, this label, is just the beginning. It's not who you are at your core. Think about this for a moment. From the moment you were born, people started defining who you were. You were called a son, or a daughter, a student, a friend, a professional, a lover, and so on. These labels shape how you see yourself and how others see you. But in all of this, where are you? Where is the true essence of who you are? What if I told you that you are not the sum of these roles? In Eastern philosophy, particularly in Buddhism, there's a concept known as no-self, or anatta. It suggests that the self we cling to, the identity that we work so hard to protect, is nothing more than an illusion. It's a collection of temporary labels that we attach to ourselves. The essence of who we are exists beyond these labels. It is the consciousness that observes them. This is where it gets profound. When we talk about finding our true self, we aren't referring to some fixed identity. We are talking about a deeper, timeless part of us that exists beyond the roles we play in society. This part of us is often hidden beneath layers of labels. It is the essence of awareness, the pure consciousness that simply is. But here's the catch. This is not something that can be intellectually understood or defined. It's something that must be experienced. And the only way to experience it is through presence. In the stillness of the present moment, without the distractions of thoughts or the labels we wear, we begin to catch glimpses of this deeper truth. Imagine sitting quietly, closing your eyes, and simply observing your thoughts. You begin to notice that your thoughts are not you. They are just passing phenomena, fleeting, temporary, and constantly changing. You realize that beneath those thoughts, there is something constant, something that simply observes. That observer, that awareness, is who you truly are. This isn't some mystical, abstract idea. It's something very real, something you can experience in your everyday life. In the same way you notice your breath or feel the weight of your body, you can begin to notice your awareness. This awareness is always present, but we usually don't pay attention to it. We're too busy identifying with the labels and the roles that define us. So, let's take a practical example. The next time you're caught in a stressful situation, maybe it's a tough meeting at work or an argument with a loved one, take a moment to step back. Instead of reacting immediately, pause, breathe. Notice the thoughts and emotions that arise in response to the situation. See them for what they are, passing waves in your mind. And then, gently, ask yourself, who am I in this moment, beyond these thoughts? You'll likely find that when you let go of your attachment to the labels, I'm the stressed out worker, or I'm the angry partner, something beautiful emerges. A sense of calm, a space where you are no longer defined by the situation. In that moment, you've transcended the label. You are simply being, and in that simplicity, there is profound peace. This is where philosophy, mindfulness, and practical living come together. The teachings of Stoicism share a similar sentiment, that we are not controlled by external events, but by our thoughts and judgments of those events. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that we have the power to choose how we respond to everything. The idea is not to let the label, "I am overwhelmed" or "I am frustrated," define us. Instead, we return to a place of clarity, where we are just the observer, not the emotional reaction. By practicing this kind of awareness, we begin to peel back the layers of our identity. We start to recognize that we are not the name we wear, nor the roles we play. We are the awareness behind those roles. We are not the storm of emotions that arise within us. We are the sky in which the storm passes. And when we realize this, we unlock a freedom that cannot be found through any label or external achievement. Now that we've begun to peel away the layers of identity, the roles, the labels, the expectations, let's explore what happens when we fully embrace the freedom of being. When we stop clinging to the mask, the name, and the roles we play, what remains? At first glance, this might sound daunting. After all, we've been conditioned our whole lives to identify with these labels. Our jobs, our titles, our relationships. These are the things we hold on to, the things that make us feel secure. But what happens when we release our grip on them? When we no longer define ourselves by external factors? The answer might surprise you. True freedom lies in letting go of everything you think you are and simply existing in the present moment. Imagine for a moment, living without the pressure to fulfill expectations or meet certain ideals. You are no longer bound by the roles you play or the achievements you're expected to attain. You are just a human being, here, now, experiencing life as it is, without the need to define or judge it. When we let go of the idea that we are defined by what we do or how others see us, we open the door to a completely new way of living. We begin to experience life from a place of deep awareness, rather than from the perspective of someone trying to fit into a particular mold. And this shift is profoundly liberating. Think of a time when you were truly present. Maybe it was when you were walking through the woods, listening to the rustle of the leaves, or when you were sitting by the ocean, feeling the cool breeze against your skin. In those moments, you were not thinking about your to-do list or about the image you're trying to project to the world. You were simply there, present, alive. This is the power of mindfulness, the ability to drop all the stories we tell ourselves and just be. This doesn't mean that life becomes easier or that we stop facing challenges. It simply means that we stop being burdened by the labels and roles we think we must fulfill. We begin to face life from a place of inner calm and strength rather than from the chaos of trying to live up to expectations. This process of embracing who we are without the labels requires a kind of courage. Courage to face the unknown, courage to step away from the familiar, and courage to simply be without constantly striving to be something more. In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If we allow our thoughts to be ruled by the roles we play and the labels we wear, we will always be chasing an ideal that is not truly ours. But if we live from a place of awareness, we are free to choose how we respond to life instead of reacting from our conditioned identities. This freedom doesn't just change how we see ourselves, it transforms how we see others. When we no longer cling to our own labels, we also begin to let go of judgment towards others. We stop defining people by their roles or appearances, and we start seeing them as fellow human beings, each on their own journey of self-discovery. This creates a sense of compassion and connection that goes beyond surface-level differences. In fact, it is in letting go of our own identity that we find true connection with others. When we are no longer trapped in the prison of our own self-image, we can truly connect with the essence of those around us. This is the essence of empathy, the ability to understand and feel the experience of another person without judgment. But how can we embody this awareness and freedom in our everyday lives? It starts with simple practices that don't require us to change who we are, but rather to peel back the layers of conditioning. One of the most powerful tools we can use is meditation. Meditation allows us to sit with ourselves, to observe our thoughts without judgment, and to let go of the labels that define us. It is a practice of presence that helps us reconnect with our true self. If you've never meditated before, start with just 5 minutes. Find a quiet space, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Notice the thoughts that come and go, but don't attach to them. See them as clouds in the sky. They pass by, but they don't define you. With each breath, you return to the present moment, to the awareness that is always there, beneath the surface. As you continue to practice, you will start to notice something profound. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And when you realize this, the need to cling to your identity, to your roles, and to your labels starts to fade. You begin to live from a place of inner peace and freedom. This freedom is not a destination. It is a way of being. It is the ability to experience life as it is, without the burden of trying to fit into a box or meet external expectations. It is about embracing your true self, not the one that is defined by others, but the one that exists beyond the labels. So, take a moment to ask yourself, who would you be if you didn't have to live up to any label or role? Who are you when you strip away the stories you tell yourself, the expectations you carry, and the labels you've been given? The answer is not something you can intellectualize. It's something you must experience. And when you do, you'll discover a freedom that is as vast as the sky. A freedom that comes from simply being who you are, without the need for definition. As we reach the final part of this journey, let's reflect on what we've uncovered so far. We've explored the question of who we are beyond our names, beyond the roles we play. We've seen how these labels, these definitions, shape how we view ourselves and the world. And we've realized that true freedom comes from shedding those labels and living from a place of deep awareness. But the question now becomes, how do we integrate this truth into our daily lives? How do we live this awareness every day in a world that constantly bombards us with labels and expectations? The first step is recognizing that this journey of self-discovery doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. The truth we've touched upon, that we are more than our roles, more than our names, more than our stories, is something that we must continue to return to over and over again. It's a practice, not a one-time revelation. We live in a world that is constantly trying to define us. Through social media, advertising, and the expectations of others, we are continually bombarded with messages about who we should be. But when we truly understand that our identity is not fixed, that it is fluid and ever-changing, we begin to see that we have the power to define ourselves. We are not at the mercy of the world's definitions. We are free to choose how we show up. So how can we live from this place of freedom, this place of truth? It starts with embracing the present moment. Every time we step into the present, we let go of the past and the future. We stop trying to control the narrative and we simply experience life as it is. We stop reacting from the stories we've been told about ourselves, and instead, we begin to respond from a place of deep awareness and understanding. This doesn't mean that we stop working or that we abandon our responsibilities. It means that we stop identifying with the roles we play. We are not our jobs. We are not our relationships. We are not our successes or failures. We are simply being. In the daily hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to forget this. We get caught up in the rush to accomplish, to prove ourselves, to meet expectations. But in those moments of stress and pressure, it's more important than ever to pause and reconnect with our true essence. A simple way to do this is through mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness throughout the day, we can remind ourselves that we are not our thoughts, our feelings, or our circumstances. We are the awareness that observes them. When we feel ourselves slipping into old patterns of identification, when we start thinking, "I'm just not good enough," or "I'm failing," we can gently bring ourselves back to the present moment. We can breathe, observe our thoughts, and let them go. Imagine how much lighter your life would feel if you could stop identifying with the weight of every label and role. If you could let go of the constant pressure to live up to other people's expectations and simply show up as your authentic self. This is not about abandoning responsibility or ambition. It's about releasing the need for validation and embracing your intrinsic worth. This journey of self-discovery is not an overnight transformation. It takes time. It takes patience. But the more we practice, the more natural it becomes. We begin to see that we are not our mistakes, our flaws, or our achievements. We are not defined by what we do. We are not defined by what others think of us. We are simply being. When we let go of the need to define ourselves, we begin to experience a deeper connection with the world around us. We start to see others not as roles, but as souls, each on their own journey. We stop judging them by their success, their status, or their appearance, and instead, we see them for who they truly are. Beings of consciousness, just like us. This shift in perception has a profound impact on how we interact with others. It allows us to be more compassionate, more present, and more understanding. We begin to meet people where they are, without the need to categorize them or judge them based on their labels. We start to treat them with the same freedom and respect that we wish for ourselves. And perhaps most importantly, we begin to experience a deeper sense of peace. When we no longer define ourselves by external circumstances or expectations, we become free. Free from the pressure to constantly prove ourselves. Free from the anxiety of measuring up. Free from the fear of being judged. So, what is the next step in this journey? It's simple, really. It's about living fully in each moment. It's about continuing to return to this truth, that we are not our names, our roles, or our labels. We are the awareness behind them. And when we live from this place of awareness, we begin to see the world in a completely new way. The truth is, we are all on this journey together. We are all learning to let go of the labels that define us and step into the freedom of simply being. And as we continue on this path, we can inspire others to do the same. Remember, you are not defined by your name. You are not defined by your story. You are simply being, and in that being, you are free. Thank you for walking this path with me. And as you move forward, remember that you carry with you the truth of who you are, beyond the labels, beyond the names. You are the awareness, the consciousness that simply is. And in that, you are free.